Hello, I'm Rob Phillips, and welcome to my channel where I teach you how to live a more balanced and present life through yoga and meditation. Today we're going to be doing a yin yoga practice where we work a little more directly with our breath. So if you've taken my class in the past, you might have noticed I don't give all that much cueing around the breath, and that's because I think most of the time in our yin yoga practice, we want to just relax into a natural rhythm and let it kind of do what it does on its own. Today we're going to explore some ways that we can work a little more directly with the breath, and we can use it to influence the flow of subtle energies within our body. And so by doing this, we'll be able to feel a little more vibrant. We'll be able to work on a more hands-on way with the energy flows that we get from the various poses. In terms of props for today, you might appreciate having a blanket, although I would say that's not explicitly required. And of course, as always, if you enjoy these videos, please consider giving it a like. Please consider subscribing to my channel. And finally, if you'd like to offer a contribution to help support my teaching, you can follow a link down below. For now, let's begin in a comfortable seat. So once you found your comfortable seat here, you can close your eyes and consider resting the hands either onto the knees or onto the lap. Really, wherever is comfortable. First, just settling, relaxing here, landing here as you are in this moment. Before we start to work with the breath, before we start to influence things, beginning just by noticing how we feel in this moment. Begin by getting a sense of where we're at in terms of our body and our state of mind. Knowing that the sense of awareness is really what will ground us, really what will help to guide us through the practice ahead. And so as we work with our breath in this yin yoga context, at least the way I like to teach it, is that we're not so much forcing the breath to move more than it naturally wants to. We're not finding this contrived, kind of aggressive breath, which sometimes can show up in our yoga practice. Instead, we're relaxing the body so much that the breath naturally has space to move. And through our awareness, through tuning into the process of our breathing, we can influence it to move and kind of permeate through our whole body. And so here in this seat, can you begin to notice the natural rise and fall of breath in your abdomen? Can you feel how as you inhale, there's a certain sense of expansion, a certain sense of lift or rising? Can you feel as you exhale, there's a sense of softening or descending, calming? This polarity of the breathing is going to be very important as we start to work with it through our practice today. And so as we start to feel the breath move, what I'm going to invite you to explore is, as the body relaxes, with each inhale breath, can you encourage some amount of that breath to rise into the ribs, to rise into the upper part of your torso? And then as you exhale, feel that breath leave and descend back down to the abdomen. And again, this is meant to be really subtle. We're not forcing the breath up. We're not puffing out our chest or anything like that. We're really just making space and intending for the breath to move in this more natural or organic way. And then as we start to feel the breath rise, notice if you feel a certain energetic sense that goes with that. Feel as though you're influencing the movement of subtle energy within the pose to rise a little bit higher, to permeate a little bit more through the torso. And this movement of the subtle breath energy is really the most powerful thing we can get from working with the breath in this yin yoga context. We're going to continue to work with the breath, of course, throughout the sequence, but for now, just take a few more rounds in the seated posture. Feel the breath really permeate and move through your body. Feel perhaps some hints of that subtle flow of energy that you're influencing by working with the breath in this way. Let's take a gentle inhale breath through our nose here. And take a gentle exhale breath out your mouth. And lower the chin down and open our eyes. And moving from seated here, we'll make our way into our first proper pose, you would say, which will be a wide-kneed child's pose. So as you set yourself up here, usually I use a blanket for this. I know some folks do it just on their mat. You're also welcome to turn sideways on your mat, but do make sure that your knees have a bit of cushion. Do make sure there's not too much pressure. And like all of my classes, if you want to use more props in this, really listen to your body. You want to feel safe. You want to feel supported in all of these poses. But maybe taking your blanket wide and folding it over, as I've done here, can open your knees a little bit wider as you sit back to the hips. Again, maybe supporting things there. But then from here, you can crawl your torso forwards as you relax the hips back. Forehead could rest on the floor. I usually leave mine a little lifted just so my mic doesn't get too compressed. But for you at home, of course, you'll want to relax completely here. Make sure you feel really comfortable. Before we come back to the breath and the deeper work, just a reminder that in this yin yoga context, we want to be really kind of aware of the level of sensation that we feel in each pose. Light to moderate sensation is normal and expected, but strong, focused, or intense sensation is something to be avoided. So if you feel strong sensation, painful sensation, anything that gives you pause in these poses, you're definitely going to want to back out. You may even consider leaving the pose early, so please don't kind of grit your teeth and strive through any of this. Practice can have a bit of challenge, but it should never feel like you might be harming the body. So keep that in mind as we work through the sequence. Beyond that, though, as you relax, of course, you'll feel some stretch on the hips. If you're newer to this sort of work, slowing down and relaxing like this can create a bit of restlessness, and part of the practice is, of course, working through that, settling through the restlessness. Today, we'll be exploring how we can use the breath as another tool we can work with to help remain present and to remain calm through our practice. So again, here, as you start to tune into the breath, feel how the breath originates in the abdomen, and that will always be the case. That's healthy, deep, diaphragmatic breath. But just as we were doing in seated, perhaps as you inhale, encourage the breath to rise a bit into the ribs, maybe feeling as though the spine is almost lengthening. And as you exhale, we can balance that by feeling the breath move back towards the abdomen and maybe relaxing the hips. Again, the breath is still very gentle. It's not a strong ujjayi breath like you would use in, say, a flow class. We're just relaxing and making space so that the breath can naturally move here. And feeling how as the breath moves, we're influencing some flow of subtle energy within the pose. Continue to relax and settle for just a few more moments here and continue to feel the breath move within your shape. Here, you can take a final complete breath as you are. Let's slowly make our way forward so that now we're resting all the way on our belly. So you might want to get your blanket out of the way here. Some of you may end up using it for the next pose too, but for most of us, probably just a clear runway here would be totally fine. Relax your way forwards and onto the floor here. And in this more neutral shape, feel some release happening in the hips, and maybe notice if it's a little bit easier in this context for the breath to really permeate through the whole pose. Again, naturally here, we'll feel a sense of expansion as we inhale. We'll feel a sense of almost contraction or relaxing as we exhale. And breath becomes a manifestation of all of the subtle energy moving within the body here. So from here, next pose we're going to come into is called broken wing pose. So I'm just going to scoot a little bit to the right edge of my mat. For this, you may or may not need to do that depending on how much space you have. So for broken wing, we're going to extend our left arm out alongside us. And keep in mind, you can play infinitely with the angle of the arm, with how bent or straight it is. It's really about listening to your body, just as it is for everything that we do here. And then you're going to roll over onto your left side. Now, the intention here is to target the inner line of your left arm, maybe the left shoulder, maybe the left pec. So you'll notice my legs kind of bent as I did this. You'll want to make sure you're comfortable. If you feel a lot of pressure on that left side hip, you may benefit from sliding like a blanket or a cushion underneath it. And then final practical point, you could either keep your right hand in front of you. You could also consider taking your right hand behind your back, as I've done here. Again, you want to feel some effect of the pose. You want to notice that you're working with the body, but again, with no intensity, no sharp or focused sensation. Should feel kind of moderate at most. If you feel pressure on the neck here, remember you can slide a blanket or a pillow underneath the head to support that as well. In this pose, relaxing and again, tuning into the breath. Something you may start to notice here is every posture is going to influence the quality of your breath in some way. There may be a little restriction on some areas of movement. There may be some opening or opportunities in another part of the body usually. So as you feel the breath move, can you continue to relax and can you continue to settle such that within the basic framework of the pose, the breath is able to move as freely and easily as it naturally can. I find that oftentimes if the breath feels a little constricted or stuck, that usually means that my alignment is maybe not ideal. Maybe I'm kind of pinching the body or maybe overly compressing the body somewhere. So the breath can be a powerful barometer for the overall pose. breath can tell us a whole lot about how we've aligned into the shape and how we're working within this practice or within the structure of the pose. Here for now, let's take one more complete breath and we'll slowly unravel ourselves. And this is optional, but my usual counter shape when I do this is to take my arms back by my side and to rest over onto my opposite side cheek, in this case, the right side. If you find there's some more comfortable position that you would prefer, that's totally fine, but it can be nice just to give your neck a little bit of release. Give yourself a bit of kind of counteraction going on here. As you hold here, get a nice easy breath and feel how the subtle energy settles within your body. Let's set up our second half here. So again, just because I'm in slightly smaller space, I'm going to scoot over to the left edge of my mat. I'm also moving my block out so I have some space for my right arm to go. And so this time you're going to take your right arm out alongside you. And again, you can place it at any height or angle. Follow your sensation here as you explore this. And then as I roll over, the intention is to feel release on the inner right arm and maybe the right side shoulder. Your legs could stagger, and your left hand could either remain in front, could also perhaps reach around your back. Either way is totally fine. With the setup, again, with eyes closed, we relax the body in that general sense. And feel maybe some push or pull of the tissues, but no intensity behind it, nothing aggressive at all about it. Today we notice the breath as a particular focus. Can you feel that drawing in of new energy each time that you inhale? Can you feel that release of stuck or stagnant energy each time that you exhale? And is the breath moving as freely and easily within the body as it naturally can in this shape? And if not, what could you release? What could you unwind to make a bit more space for the breath to move a bit more easily here? Let the breath guide you through these poses. And now you can take a final complete breath as you are. Carefully unroll yourself. And again, I'm going to recommend, if it's comfortable for your body, to take your arms by your side and maybe rest on your left side cheek. I generally don't do that just because my mic might get crushed there, but you all can rest on your left side, have your arms by your side. Take a few gentle breaths here and feel that release in the shoulders, in the chest, in the upper back. Notice how by working with the breath here, we're influencing the subtle energy in our bodies in general. Let's take a deep inhale breath through our nose. Long exhale breath out our mouth. And place our hands beneath the shoulders and send the hips back towards the heels. Resting for a few seconds, transitioning for a few moments through our child's pose. And spin our way up from here. Dialing things up a little bit for our hips, we're going to come into our dragon pose, our lunging pose. So do recommend using a blanket for this. If you have access to a yoga block, some folks may find that helpful too, but main intention here is to make sure our knees are padded and grounded. So dragon pose, of course, a low lunge. So we're going to pad our right knee here and step our left foot up near the front of the mat. So for today, I don't have a super strong physical intention for which version of dragon pose you should do. So you can have the arms on either side. You can have them inside. It could be on blocks. Really whatever feels comfortable for you, or more or less comfortable. Remember, you can slide the weight on that back kneecap so that you're not compressing things too much. Remember to use props liberally here to help feel supported. And understanding, of course, dragon pose for most practitioners will be challenging. It's not meant to be an easy pose per se, but it should certainly not be a painful pose or an intense pose. So if stronger sensation crops up, if you're really, hesitant about what you're feeling in the body, listen to that. You can leave early. If all feels safe and well here, again, settling into the pose. And tuning in to our breathing. This being a more lower body focused pose, I might encourage you to emphasize working with the breath deep down in the belly. Using your inhales to draw energy towards the hips, towards the legs. And then using your exhales to relax through any tension, through any tightness, so that you are settling more and more into this pose. So that there is kind of a very gradual sense of movement from within this otherwise still shape. You may also find that working with the breath makes it a little bit easier to stay present here. The mind is less prone to wander if we give it something specific to focus on, which can be valuable for calming the mind, for helping us to stay centered here in this context. Final few moments here. Just find that last tiny bit of space as you can. Let's take a final complete breath right here. And then to make your way out, on your way, I invite a bit of movement. I often do this kind of hip rock, feels good. Maybe shake the leg behind you. And I even see many students might come into like downward dog for a few breaths. That's welcome, that's encouraged. Work any movements out of your system. Then settle into a neutral shape. I'm choosing child's pose. That's a good option for many of us. You could lie on your back or your belly, wherever is comfortable. We're just going to be here for maybe like 5 or 6 breaths. But feel, again, the echoes of the pose within the body. Feel the movements of your breath as a manifestation of the subtle energy that you're working with here. From here now, as you're ready to, we'll set up for second side. So again, patting the knees as needed. Stepping the right foot forwards here, knee more or less over the heel. Finding the right length of stride for your body at this moment. Again, using props beyond what I've offered if you'd like to. As we know from first side, dragon pose can be challenging, but it shouldn't be painful. Shouldn't feel like too much at any point. If it does, you're going to want to back out. Otherwise, aligning the body in such a way that you can generally relax here. And of course, some effort is always required. There's some stability needed. It's not like lying on our back or something like that. Working just enough to support yourself and then relaxing. Really let the rest go. Tuning into and feeling now the subtle movements of your breath within the pose. As we explored on the first side, I'm going to encourage using your inhales to draw the breath way down into the abdomen. To use your exhales to soften, to relax the hips. So again, there's like subtle movements that come with the breath. We can use that to influence the subtle movement of energy within the pose. Making sure the breath is moving freely and easily, that it's not feeling stuck or restricted at any moment. And as well, encouraging our attention, our awareness, to rest with the breath, to help keep us focused, to help keep us a little bit more present here. Finding that last little bit of space as you can. Let's take a final complete breath right here. And then slowly, again on your way out, I invite a bit of movement, a bit of shifting as might feel good for you. Once you've worked that out, whatever way feels good, let's find our way now all the way flat onto our backs. So letting the supine pose be our resonant shape for the next minute or so. Feeling the subtle movements of energy within the body through the breath. Feeling, of course, all the physical space that we've made from our practice too. Hopefully the body feels quite a bit more open than it did when we first started a little while ago. Excuse me, I had a sneeze breath there for a moment. So from here, before we wrap up for today, let's take a final pair of brief twists. So we'll keep it simple. Just draw both knees into the chest, make kind of a cannonball type shape, and find a gentle inhale breath there. Slowly, as you exhale, roll the legs over to the right as you open your left arm out onto the floor, and maybe the right hand will park on top of the thighs here to hold them in position. Again, feel the breath move a bit through the left side waist. Inhaling to expand. Exhaling to really relax and to really settle into the twist. And take your final breath right here where you are. Carefully wind yourself into the middle. Take a few moments just to shift, to kind of reset for a second. And then we'll do that second twist. So from here, again, draw both knees into the chest and take a gentle inhale. And then exhale to roll the legs over to the left, open your right arm somewhere beside you, and just easy, kind of brief twist. Feel as you inhale that sense of length forming on the right side. Feel as you exhale that sense of relaxing, of settling just a tiny bit more into this twist. With your next slow inhale breath, winding your way into the middle. And as you exhale to land there, take a few moments just to unravel. Last little chance to move here. Then let's extend our legs out onto the floor, setting up for what will become our final Shavasana in a few moments. But first, can you rest your hands onto the belly, left hand or right hand on the belly, and other hand onto the chest here, so you have kind of full contact with the whole torso. What we're going to do here is last kind of focused connection with the breath, maybe about 10 rounds or so. Can we create a full dynamic breath such that as we inhale, the belly and the ribs rise a bit? As we exhale, we feel the belly and we feel the ribs soften and settle. This last real tangible connection with the breathing. And again, this is really subtle. It's not a huge breath. It's not a pushed or forced breath. It's just allowing the right conditions so that the breath can more naturally fill into these areas. Let's feel that here for a few more moments. Let's take a final gentle inhale breath through our nose. As you exhale out your mouth, start to let go of any sense of control of your breath and relax your arms by your side, and we'll just settle here for a brief final Shavasana. Letting ourselves be completely still, letting ourselves be completely at ease here. So on your back here, taking a final few moments to tune in and connect, and maybe once again, just deepening your breath ever so slightly. Let that deepening of your breath start to manifest as some movements in the body, getting things going once again. From those movements, making your way onto your side and pressing up into a final seat where you can close your eyes and check in here one last time. Feeling the full effects of your practice on the body and mind. And joining the hands in front of the heart. Thank you so much as always for joining me for this practice, and may our practice bring benefit to all beings. And we bow. So as always, thank you so much for joining me here. And if you have thoughts, questions, or comments, do let me know down below. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a like. And of course, consider subscribing to my channel if you want to see more yoga practices like this each week.